All right, welcome back, everybody. Welcome back to the Wikigrisser show, and I am back with Frontier again, of course.
Hello.
And for the first time in a while, S2 is back as well.
Hello.
Welcome back, S2. S2's been a little busy with real life, but he's back with us. And today we also have a guest. He's just a guildie of mine called Akato. So the reason we have him on today is Akato is just an expert Mythical player. He's been playing the Mythical faction since before it was cool. Do you want to say hi to everyone, Akato?
Hi, Giz-OP.
Yes, Akato had a 6-star Gizarof before it was cool, and he was, I believe one of your earlier boxes was actually using, like, Arges and stuff, right?
Oh, yeah. I had, like, her rune for Mass Seal and everything.
Nice. I got Gizarof 5-star today.
Who's Argus?
A rare Jess, just, like the Arges.
Oh, okay.
R-Jess. Okay, so the reason we have like a very experienced Mythical player on with us today is because this upcoming patch, or at least we're expecting it to come, is going to be one of the biggest buffs to Mythical in a long time, and it is the beginning of the end of Apex, where Mythical just spaghetti all over everything and makes everybody really mad about Mythical. And just Mythical spreading debuffs everywhere and making everybody mad. And that, of course, is the Cold Steel collab. Cold Steel introduces 2 new Mythical characters, and at the same time, Gizarof will be getting his 3-cost skill.
Not even, also Bozel.
Bozel will not be getting anything in this patch, but Bozel...
Not this patch, but eventually.
Well, that's a little bit... That's a ways off. I mean, that is like part of the updates we were writing on the site. We will be talking about the newest Chinese patch next week. But okay. because that patch is not out yet, actually, I'll be playing it when it comes out this week. And then, when I've actually like played around with it a little bit, we'll be talking about it next week, and we will have a very special guest that time too. I know Frontier's really excited about that.
Yes.
But anyway, for now, let's just talk about the next global patch that's expected, which is, of course, the Cold Steel collab. And before we get into the crazy new meta shifters, let's just start with the SR freebie we're gonna get, which is Altina. Altina sucks. Like, oof. So I mean, the thing is like, Altina is a pretty popular character from Cold Steel because she's a cute anime girl, and those always have fan bases. But like Altina, if you look at her kit, it's just like they gave her a talent that's really, really mediocre. It's a mix of support and debuffing, but it's like she has no intelligence or damage increase, and the debuff and the buff she gives is like kind of lackluster. It's just a defense increase for your allies and a defense decrease for the enemies around you.
Yeah, it doesn't even increase. It's just a flat 10%.
Yeah, and it's like it's just nothing impressive. She has a couple unique spells, but none of them are really all that impressive. She has like a line AoE that's like Desiccate and does silence 50% of the time, which is okay, I guess. And then she has her 3-cost skill, which does a bunch of very unique debuffs. It looks like it was designed to debilitate assassins, but Altina will probably not do that at all, because Altina is a stubby 4-move unit. If you class her into a unique class, which is a flyer class, it's the first like flyer class mage we have. She can move 4, and then she can shoot this from 3 spaces away. But obviously, if you're trying to hit assassins with this, it's like there's no way you're gonna get Altina in range of that. And the thing is like, okay, you might look at the flyer class and be like, oh, that's very cool, that's unique. But it's like, okay, what does that offer you? What does the flyer mage actually do? You lose the weakness to like Arcane Blast, and then you get killed by Slayer's Emblem. Who cares? Do you guys have any thoughts on Altina?
Squishy.
Yeah. Any thoughts on Altina, guys?
Is this the first SR that has a 3-cost skill?
I mean, this is the first SR that's coming with the 3-cost skill, I would say.
Okay.
And it's the first, I believe this is the first like SR collab character that's coming that has a 3-cost skill, because Parn doesn't have a 3-cost skill yet. Olivier doesn't have a 3-cost skill yet. Close doesn't have a 3-cost skill. Parn, and I believe that's about it.
The other lolly healer.
Oh, Iris does not have a 3-cost skill either. No. And the funny thing is, like, when we were talking with Bakaira last time about the Overlord collab, we were listing off characters to compare with Ainz. I actually completely forgot Altina existed because of how lackluster she is.
Ooh.
So S2, you got any thoughts looking at Altina right now?
I remember I used to be hyped for her, and then I don't know what happened. I think it's the fact that her skill started to show color. Like, I started looking at it, I was like, these aren't really good debuffs compared to all other debuffs that AoE users provide, you know, like, sure, it's like the critical damage decreases and everything, and
What?
I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is like, I would say that the critical reduction and the skill reduction is actually very unique, and that can be really good. But the problem is like, okay, it's not like it's dispellable. It lasts 2 turns. It's like, it's just not very impressive. And the thing is, and the other thing is like this Ragnabringer seal. It actually has a really, really high multiplier. It has 0.4 times AOE. But it's like, yeah, but it's like because she has no intelligence increase or damage increase in her talent or anything like that in the rest of her kit, it's just like it's not as impressive as it might seem at first. I mean, I won't say that she's useless, because if you combine her with other debuffers, she might be okay. But it's just, you know, her alone, she's really not going to do that much. And also her factions are kind of, I mean, well, actually, the time faction, of course, is always good. Empire sucks. And Meteor Strike. Okay, Meteor Strike is actually a good faction, but Altina does not fit into the playstyle of Meteor Strike at all. So it's just, I don't understand why they didn't put her in Mythical. Like, well, I guess, like, it doesn't really make sense for her to be in Mythical. But yeah, I mean, the factions they did give her are, like, not that great. You got any thoughts, Akato?
Not Mythical, so trash.
That's a very unbiased opinion from our Mythical player here. But yeah, like I just don't have a lot to say about Altina. She's just like a really big disappointment. I think she's actually worse than Parn, who was like already a disappointment. Like, Parn's okay, and I found that disappointing. And Altina's just like, I think Altina's even worse than Parn. But if you guys don't have anything extra to add, I think we can move on to what people are actually going to find exciting about the next patch. So, so let's talk about the main character of Trails of Cold Steel, Rean Schwarzer. So Rean, oh my god. So I think Rean really needs no introduction at this point, because Rean is a crazy meta shifter. The funny thing is that when Rean and Arianrhod were first revealed, everyone was looking at Arianrhod. They were like, oh my god, Arianrhod looks insane. And everyone was like, Rean looks okay. But then, like, but the reason people said that was because we did not realize what Rean's debuff list was at the time. Because when we saw random debuffs, we were just like, oh, is she like Almeida? She's just gonna give like attack and defense debuffs. That seems okay, but that doesn't seem crazy. And then we found out what his debuff list is, and then we realized, oh my god, he is just awful. He is... So basically, Rean is Bozel with a sword. His debuff list is all the annoying ones. He does heal block, he does buff block, he does silence, he can lower your movement, and most importantly, his debuff list includes Curse of Wounding, which is the Listel talent. And this is not like some small PP Curse of Wounding that does like 10% conversion. It converts 50% of the heal into damage. It's really, really powerful.
Ow.
That is a 6-star Listel talent built into his random debuffs. It's just crazy. But yeah, like, once people realize that, it's just like, wow, Rean is just going to be awful to play against when you combine him with all those other crazy mythical characters that have debuffs. As mentioned, there's Bozel. There is Gizarof himself, who will be getting a Strike Out skill that makes him better. You know, there's... even though it's not mythical... well, Bozel, of course, is mythical, but even though it is not mythical... Licorice actually works very well in a mythical box because of the crossover between the dark and the mythical factions. And because of that, Licorice also spreading debuffs everywhere, and I think global players have already had some experience playing against Licorice, and she is just really, really annoying. And of course, there's also Ren. Ren, of course, is Time faction. She's Legend faction, which means Landius will buff her. You know, she is Dark faction, so just debuffs everywhere, and Rean just makes it even worse. On top of that, Rean has a transformation which increases his damage and decreases his damage taken. He also gets stacking stat buffs. When he transforms, he gets damage, movement, and more debuffs going out. So this makes him not only like someone who can do a lot of damage on top of doing all those debuffs, but because his transformation gives damage decrease taken, it actually makes him really tanky if you want to build him that way. You can give him like a Bracer emblem and like ALS armor and stuff, and he'll be really, really tanky. Obviously, with a Bracer, you can't backstab him, and he'll just survive a lot of things. At that point, if you meet like a tanky Rean, pretty much the only thing that you're going to kill him with is that's not like a direct attack from a Tank Buster or something, is like a Bloodthirster attack from Zerida. So that's pretty nuts. Yeah, I think I've been talking a lot already. Do you guys want? How about let's start with US2. What do you think of Rean?
Can't wait to get him, but I'm actually more hyped for Ariana.
Okay, sure. Okay, how about you, Frontier?
Well, I got like a 50-50 chance between getting him or Ariana, so it'll be up to the gods.
I've been saving a lot of tickets. I didn't pull that much on the Licorice banner. I ended up getting 2 Renatas on it, which made me very sad. But after that, I was just like, okay, I gotta stop. I need to save for Rean. Okay, well, Akato, this character is probably long awaited for you. Are you gonna pull like crazy to get Rean?
I only have like 220 because I'm really bad at saving, but yeah.
Okay, so you're gonna pull really, really hard with those 220 crystals you have, is what you're saying?
Oh, I meant tickets.
But yeah, do you have anything you think you want to add about Rean, like in terms of his skills and how he might be built?
I think you could also run Wing Shin Guards over Bracer if you don't have anything. He does kind of have meh troops, though. It's like they're not that good compared to like Arianrhod, who has Exorcist.
So the thing about Rean, like both Rean and Arianrhod actually have very adequate single target potential because they both have like at least 20% attack, I believe, on their soldier bonus, which actually makes them kind of similar to Leonhardt in that even though their focus is on AoE, they are not going to just like they're not going to do tiny damage in single target. Like they can do quite a bit of damage in single target as well. Although both of them are missing like an air slash type move. They both have single target attacks, but none of them are 2 range, which can be a bit of a problem. But yeah, I mean, the thing about Rean is that he does not have that many... I mean, I don't think his troops are actually that bad. So you got heavy infantry, of course, which are nice for defensive purposes. You got Highland Warrior, which is also great for defensive purposes and also offense. And of course you have Steelwing Warrior. So Steelwing Warrior like is actually decently tanky if you have the damage reduction tech maxed out for Flyer. But obviously that means you would need to put Rean on a forest tile, but because his damage reduction is in his talent and it's a buff, that means that damage minus 20%, or damage minus 30% rather, that applies to his troops. So if you consider that alongside the tech for flyers, you're getting like 50-60% damage reduction on his flyers when you're standing on defensive terrain. So you can actually make him really, really tanky when he's transformed. Obviously, if they gave him like Phalanx or something, that would have been nuts, but thankfully they didn't do that. Oh my god. If they gave him Phalanx, that would just be so awful. I mean, I feel like I already like kind of explained what makes Rean so good. I mean, he's, like I said, he's similar to Bolzol. He doesn't have any super complex mechanics to him. He just transforms, does a bunch of debuffs, and also does damage, and he's cancer. And that's pretty much it. Do you guys have anything you want to add about Rean?
Well, I don't think anyone mentioned to do BB and Clock for extra cancer.
Oh no, why are you making me think of these things?
Yeah, so like, that's pretty standard build for Rean is Balance Blade. On the Chinese server, you'll see usually 2 different builds for Rean. One of them is like a damage focused build in which Rean is using a Demon Slayer. He's using a Demon Slayer so that when he uses his AoEs, not only will he have, of course, a bunch of extra attack to do more damage with, but if he crits, he will also add even more debuffs, which makes it harder to cleanse away his debuffs. So in this case, you're of course looking to end the match quickly, because you're looking to do as much damage as you can in one hit, rather than trying to do a dragged out fight where you try to clock things over and over. But yeah, you can use the Demon Slayer, and you can even use like like Breeze or something on him to make him get closer to the enemy faster. And of course, in that case, you would be using an attack accessory. And as mentioned, Wing Shin Guards, of course, is quite good on him because it's a balance between attack and defense. And of course, the other build is using Balance Blade. So Balance Blade actually serves Rean quite well. Balance Blade, of course, increases the range of all his AoEs, which is really scary. And of course, it actually, like, one thing people seem to forget is that Balance Blade gives defense and magic defense. So it does help him with his tanking a little bit. And of course, like mentioned, bracers are very rare. I don't really have... Technically, I have 0 bracers because bracers is the bot one. But I only have a handful of Swordsmith emblems. And yeah, it's pretty hard to spare one for Rean when there's so many other characters that can be using it.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I think that's all I have to say. Do you guys have anything final you guys want to add about Rean?
I'm really excited for him.
Okay, well, sounds like you are more excited for the next character we're going to talk about, which is, of course, Ariana Grande. How about you talk a little bit about Ariana Grande S2?
So there's a video that's been going around for the past month about Ariana rushing on turn 1 and eliminating the entire team. Yeah, she actually pairs well with Angelica. Yeah, she actually pairs well with Angelica, which activates her carbon fiber armor. And if you equip both of them, she actually gains a whole bunch of more attack and skill. And
yeah, Ariana Grande is like combined with Angelica is the return of the meme strategy that was Sumire plus Angelica, where you blow up the unit's troops and then it activates all kinds of effects on them. So of course, Ariana Grande is or Arianrhod, I guess we should call her by her actual name first, so people don't get confused. So Arianrhod is a very, very scary AoE damage dealer. So she, unlike Rean, she is not focused on debuffs. She does do like 1 or 2 debuffs, but she doesn't have that many of them. But yeah, she replaces that with just insane damage. So not only that, but she is also tanky, just like Rean is. So she, instead of her tankiness comes when she's at high HP, and this is what makes her so scary because she has an act again that activates if she is below a certain amount of health. So how she's supposed to be played is basically when you're at high health, she's tanky, so your opponent can attack her, but they might fail to kill her. And if they do that, that means she's in the range to act again now, and she can do 2 high power AoEs at once, which has a pretty good chance of just straight up killing some units. Like her multipliers are so high.
Yeah.
So most notably, of course, you have Grand Cross, her 3-cost skill, which is a 0.44 times AoE damage that dispels 3 buffs. This is absolutely nuts because like this is the highest multiplier of any AoE in the game. And like I think anybody who's seen videos of Arianrhod will know that she will use Grand Cross and just like blow like 60 to 70% of everybody's life, and then she can follow up with another AoE right after. And the other thing is that Grand Cross actually gives her a shield that makes her like basically invulnerable to damage for 1 hit. Yeah, I think there's not a whole lot to say beyond that because Arianrhod, just like Rean, is actually not that complicated a character. She is just ooga booga. Let me do a lot of damage. You got any thoughts, Frontier?
Units go burr.
All right, Akato, so you said you are going to pull for Arianrhod?
Yes, sir.
So Arianrhod actually did not see that much play in, I believe it was Season 4 of China. And she didn't see a lot more play until Season 5, I believe. I think it's because in Season 4 of China there was like a way more focus on debuffs flying around with their new toys in Gizarof and Rean, and of course Bozol as always. Do you think Arianrhod is going to be relevant at all for our Season 4 or 5? Akato, as the resident mythical expert, do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I'm sure.
You want to elaborate?
Yeah, I think she'll be relevant. She could jump in with other mythical AoE, or she could also jump in with someone like Rainforce after they do their 3C, so that way they could target Rainforce instead of her or something. I don't know.
Alright, Frontier, are you scared?
I never want to jump into PvP, and every time new updates happen, it just reinforces my idea of don't touch that.
Okay.
To be honest, Ariana plays a lot like Ares. If you pair it with Angelica, like how Ares pairs with Enoda.
Okay.
That's how I think.
Maybe a little bit, in that you're looking to like jump in immediately and possibly kill someone if they're not like HP built enough. But what I think makes Ariana slightly different is just how tanky she is compared to Ares. Like Ares, basically Ares relies on last rites to survive anything, really. Unless you just have insane enchants. But Arianrhod has enough damage reduction, and of course, after she 3Cs, she's going to have even more damage reduction, so she has a pretty good chance of surviving hits after that. So the ideal way to play Arianrhod is actually to use her as the final move of your turn, because that means, especially if you're P1, because that means she will have a turn up right away in the next, like when the turn cycle over. So if they fail to kill her, of course you can just run away, or you can just do, if you manage to clock, you can just do another AoE. I think one thing worth noting about clock on Arianrhod is that Grand Cross is a 6 CD skill, so just like Leonhardt's fusion Assure Slash, it is not something you can cast over and over, even if you clock. When you clock it, it will still have 1 CD, so you can't equip clock and then expect to do Grand Cross twice in a row. So what you can do is that you have to hope that you can Grand Cross and then use another AoE, and then hope that you will survive the enemy, and then if Arianrhod gets another turn, you can then Grand Cross again if you clocked it.
Also, one thing, time for Sophie Rewind.
You can also rewind, yes. Although, like,
Mythical.
I think a very valuable talent for her is kind of similar to Hiei. Like when Hiei jumps in, if you have Close's buff on her or Iris's talent on her, it does help her a little bit to, especially if you decide to blow up her soldiers using Angelica. Having Iris to heal her up, or Close to heal her up with her Aurora Ring right after she takes action, can be very useful. As long as you don't heal up so much that you actually get out of the active end range. You have to be very careful of that.
Noted.
Yeah, Arianrhod, very scary AoE damage, but not so scary on debuffs. But I've actually seen many videos where 2 AoEs from her were able to kill Landius cavalry.
How?
So that is like very, very scary. Do you guys have any final thoughts on Arianrhod?
No.
I guess the last thing I will add is that she can be both a Lancer and a Holy class, although she can use axes and lances in both classes. I think the Lancer class is still more popular because she has equal attack in both classes, and you do kind of want the bonus damage a lot of the time. And I think a lot of the major targets that Arianrhod wants to kill are not infantry. So you don't really need to worry too much about the infantry weakness as far as killing targets is concerned. She, of course, will have an easier time killing physically squishy units like mages. And, of course, Lancer class means that any Cav Landius is going to have a really bad time against her. Alright. Do you guys have anything final you want to add? Well, Ariana Grande.
She's kind of a good counter to MK, I guess, since she's a Lancer unit versus double Cav.
Do you think Arianrhod can survive a hit from MK?
Maybe with like double Lancer and like Irwin's training.
Yeah. So as far as soldiers go, she usually uses Heavy Centurion, are the ones I see her use the most. Although I've seen Zealots, I've seen Exorcists on her, I've seen Amazon Champions, I've even seen Templar Knights on her before. Although in that case, it was a horrible choice. But yeah, her troop choice is not that great, but it is a interesting variety that spreads between both offensive and defensive. I do think double Lancer should be able to survive MK despite her somewhat below average magic defense. Her Holy class actually has pretty high magic defense. She actually has 340 magic defense on her Holy class, which is pretty decent. But our Lancer class is quite low. Although of course you make up for that with the Lancer advantage if you are fighting a Unicorn or Mystery Knight in general. Of course, D-Lit will probably run in and kill you. But yeah, again, this is like the third time I'm saying it. Do you guys have any final you want to add?
I hope the swordsman meta isn't gonna cripple Orion's Lancer class too much. Because
Well, I will say that one of her best weapons is Scarlet Reaper, so a Bracer Emblem does put a damper on that. But I would say that her I mean, even not even Bracer, but like mages wear Medring quite often. But I think her multipliers are high enough, and if you have her carbon fiber armor active, her attack is going to be so high that I think she might have no trouble two-shotting a squishy mage anyway. Yeah, pretty scary AoE character. Although, me personally, I am still more scared of the debuff squad from Rean and Bozel as opposed to Arianrhod. Arianrhod's her own brand of scary. If you guys have nothing else to add, we can move on to the 3 cost skills, which is Emilia and Gizarofs. So, since we've been talking so long about these mythical characters, why don't we start with Gizarofs? And so, Akato, I'm sure you've had your Gizarofs 6 stars since like season 2 or something. Are you excited for Gizarofs 3 cost skill?
Yeah, a lot actually.
So Gizarof's 3 cost skill actually has no cooldown, but that's because it's limited by the existence of his construct, which by itself has, I believe it was a 4-turn cooldown. Gizarof's 3 cost skill is basically just a black hole. It blows up his construct and it casts what is very similar to a black hole spell, and then it summons like a super construct. It's the super construct itself is not like a typical summon. It can actually do quite a bit of damage. The thing is like Gizarof's construct is already pretty strong as far as summons go. Like when people think of summons, they think of things like Sky Archer and you know, like the crappy summons from like Bozel or Lana. Gizarof's summons are not like that at all. They can actually do a fair bit of damage in combat, although they are quite frail. This ultimate construct is a slight bit better in that regard. So not only is it a little bit more hardy than the normal construct, it will have more renovations as a result of all various effects from this skill, and it will also gain extra attacks. So basically, the normal construct is like a typical summon in that it doesn't really have that many attacks, which limits the amount of damage it can do because of how damage works in this game and how soldiers can absorb a certain number of hits. The ultimate construct isn't like that. The ultimate construct actually has an increased number of attacks, so it can do a fair bit of damage even to enemies that have soldiers intact still. So by itself, Gizarof's 3 cost skill is nothing amazing. It's just a better summon and it does some debuffs. But what makes Gizarof's 3 cost skill good is how it works in combination with other characters. So Gizarof has always been an enabler because he's always been the mythical buffer. You of course would combine this, the construct debuffs. It gives 2 random debuffs. If you combine this with, of course, the new Rean character and of course Bozel, Ren, all kinds of crazy debuffs, this is very powerful. It is also worth noting because when Gizarofs blows up his own construct using this 3 cost skill, it counts as an ally dying. So it actually activates characters like Yusuke. It activates Rean.
Missile Hammer.
Yeah, and it will also activate Akaya to summon a wolf. So there's quite a bit of interesting like combos you can do. While in a vacuum, it's just sort of it's okay. What makes it truly good is using it in combination with other characters. Do you think that's a more or less accurate description, Akato, or do you have anything you want to add?
Yeah, that's about right. It does help the fact that he can continue doing stuff, because usually he runs faction buff and then summon or something, and then he's stuck with like an AoE, and if it doesn't clock, he has no way of continuing. But with the 3 cost, he can do a summon, and then do the 3C, blow it up, and then wait a bit, summon again, instead of waiting for an AoE that'll take way longer and do like one crappy debuff.
Yeah, I guess it is worth noting that this skill effectively has a 4 or 5 turn cooldown shared with the construct cooldown. But the nice thing is that when your construct is out, the cooldown is still ticking down. So it's not like you have to wait for your construct to die before the cooldown starts ticking. Do you have anything else you want to add about the Gizarof 3 cost, Akato?
Nope.
One question.
Sure.
His specific equipment, after casting a skill, if a construct is present, one renovation is random added. Will that work on the 3C?
I forgot how exactly it works, but I believe once it blows up, yes, it will add one extra buff onto the ultimate construct.
Okay, cool. I just want to make sure, because I picked that up when I was making my Gizarof a 5-star.
Yeah, it's a good staff. Like, it's pretty much his best weapon. Yeah, the ultimate construct can get... And of course, the ultimate construct, for those of you who are not familiar with all the renovations, some of the renovations include, like, dealing more random debuffs. It can have range +1, so it can range attack some melee units without fear. It can get movement plus. It can get like damage increase, and perhaps the most powerful one is the fact that it has one where if you kill it, it will explode and dispel effects. Now dispels are very powerful in this game, which is probably why they don't give them out very often. But yeah, like consider the fact that if you get the dispel renovation on the original normal construct, what will happen is that when you 3-cost, it will actually first do that self-destruct dispel on everybody around it, and do any other like renovation effects it might have before doing the 3C explosion. And then after that, you can just like, if you want, you could just like get the ultimate construct killed immediately if you want to, and the ultimate construct could just blow up again. So it is like it is like very, very disruptive to the enemy team.
Nice.
Like, people usually say Gizarof himself is pretty weak, and this is true to a degree, but it's just like, I think Gizarof is actually a very technical character. Like, he can actually be very, very good if you manipulate his summons and use them the correct way. And I think that's something similar to a lot of summon-focused units, like, you know, Akaya. Akaya is pretty difficult to use as well, but Akaya can actually be very good if you know how to manipulate her wolf summons and her wolf effects correctly.
Cool.
Alright, anything final you want to add, Akato, about this amazing new 3-cost skill?
No.
For Gizarof.
Wow. I'm scared. But wait, I have him too, so I should be less scared.
Alright. So, the other 3-cost skill we are getting is a little bit less on theme, but it is Emilia's 3-cost skill. So finally, Emilia has always been something of a rare pick for many boxes, for a various number of reasons. And first it's because a dedicated magic tank isn't necessarily that useful, and the other thing is that she didn't provide a lot of team support, and of course Emilia came out so much later than all the other tanks, so that everybody was already like, I already have Landius and Juggler, I don't need to build Emilia. So here we got Emilia's 3-cost skill, which is basically just makes her more like Landius, in that it gives her an aura that is somewhat similar to the Landius aura. So even though this is a pretty good 3-cost, I still think it is significantly worse than Landius's aura, for a couple reasons. So take a look at the effects that it has. So first, let's look at the command first. So this command reduces critical damage by 30%, and you take 20% less fixed damage. So Landius's aura reduces range damage by 15%, and it reduces crit rate. So assuming you get crit, this will reduce damage quite a fair bit. I think, like, in that sense, it can accomplish something similar to Landius's aura, and that it can almost guarantee a unit survive an assassin attacking them. And I think one extra thing that is worth noting is that if there is a Landius around, sometimes assassins will just run up and melee attack your mages using their extreme magic bow, which is, of course, ignores his aura. But Emilia's aura does not have that limitation. It reduces critical damage by 30%. So if you have a decently tanky mage, like Rachel with Crystal Warlocks or something, and you have a decent bit of HP and defense enchants, stack this alongside the PvP critical damage reduction. I think it's actually like a lot easier to survive assassins with Emilia. But that is where the good news ends with this command, I feel like, because compared to Landius's aura, this is still much worse, because first off, 20% less fixed damage, that is completely useless. What are you gonna do with this, really? Like Listel's Blood Dance, even if I reduce Blood Dance by 20%, it's like, it still did a lot of damage, and I'm still cursed, so who cares? It didn't help me at all. So the other thing is that Landius's 3-cost aura actually gives a healing increase to your units around him, so that is something missing from this skill. Unfortunate for Emilia fans, they gave her a command skill that is very similar to Landius's, but for some reason they decided Landius deserves a better one still. I mean, in some ways it is better, but for the most part Landius is just better at general purpose. So finally we have the actual guard itself, which is just like very similar to Landius's 3-cost or even Layden's 3-cost. It's just a extended guard, like similar to her usual Holy Guard skill. The conversion cannot be dispelled on this, so at least you will always be countering for a fair bit of damage. It also you also cannot dispel her range counter, so at the very least she has that. But it also gives her, it also makes it so that when she revives using her talent, she will recover 100% HP instead of 30%. This is only on the hero, by the way. The soldiers will recover the normal amount of HP. So it also gives her basically gives her Vargas's talent at the same time as a buff for 3 turns. Kind of interesting. So basically what I think this is meant to do is that before, Emilia was very, very weak to very dedicated physical tank busters like for most notably Claret. Claret could blow up Emilia very easily, unless you're Roy Lee fighting Gaul that one time where Emilia got thorns and that thorns killed Claret. But aside from that, it's like Emilia pretty much got killed very badly by Claret. So this will help with that, definitely. But yeah, I mean, it's really just trying to make up for the weaknesses that Emilia had. I think Emilia is good, but there is no reason someone who already has Landius built, which is most players, are going to build Emilia, aside unless you are someone who wants a box full of waifus, which I have met many players that are like that, so, you know, more power to you. Emilia is just getting way better with this 3-cost, but she's really not doing anything amazing. Okay. I think I talked a lot. Do you guys have anything you want to add?
I don't have her. And the likelihood of me getting her is slim, unless I pull her on the focus banner later on.
Yeah, I don't have Emilia either. I would like to have her, just to play around, because she seems like a fun character to play around with.
I mean, it's either her or Betty on the focus banner, so...
Yeah, and like, hey, if you have the Empire Guild Wars, she is easily the best tank for Empire Guild Wars, in my opinion. I rank her above. I rank her above Vargas, actually. How about you, Akato? Do you have Emilia at all?
No, I got YGS instead.
Well, why just fits you better?
Yeah.
Yeah, like I said, Emilia's getting better, but nothing amazing. If you guys don't have anything to add, we can move on to the new equipment that they're adding this time, which of course is Bernhardt and Varna. Again, these are not that great in my opinion. So first, let's talk about Bernhardt's armor. Bernhardt gets an armor that gives him talent span +1. This is okay. I mean, it really doesn't fix a lot of problems that Bernhardt had in PvP, which is that he has tiny legs, he doesn't tank all that well, his damage, he throws out a sword dance and then he's done. Like, this doesn't help with that. Like, if it increased the talent effect, like if it increased the potency of the talent, in addition to the span, maybe that would be way better. But as is, like, it's just like, it's okay. Like, I will say that one thing is that if you play Bernhardt aside, along with Emilia, Bernhardt's talent is actually quite good at helping Emilia survive physical strikers. But aside from that, I don't have much to say about this armor. I don't think it's that great. It's something you would equip on Bernhardt anyway, but like, yeah, it's nothing that's going to change things for him. I think there's many cases where you would want to stick with something like Bloodline or ALS battle armor anyway. But do you guys have any thoughts on this?
I mean, what do you get a benefit from specifically the armor slot? Like, what other stuff could you put on him?
I mean, you could go with the regular Aeneas' armor, which of course is just for healing. You can go with Bloodline to make him tank better. You can go with ALS to make him tank better. I mean, obviously with this armor you are sacrificing some tankiness for the extra talent span.
Yeah.
And of course, the base stat increase on it is like pretty unimpressive as well.
If I was using Burn, I personally wouldn't use that.
So you would, what would you use instead of this?
Probably Aeolus or even Gaius or Gaze.
Yeah, I can see, like, if you use Bernhardt as a backup tank, like, this is actually, like, categorically worse than than just, like, wearing Aeolus or something. And of course, this only gives 5% HP. Like, I wish it at least gave 10% HP, but instead it gives, like, 5% HP, which is only half of what you get with, like, a Bloodline or something. Yeah, that's quite unimpressive. Kind of disappointing, but maybe if they add more things for Bernhardt in the future, like maybe his 3-cost skill will make his talent, like maybe his 3-cost skill will also work with this. Who knows? But yeah, I think we're all done with Bernhardt's armor here. Let's talk about Varna's armor. So Varna's helm is okay. So what it does is, like, this has the bounce blade effect, but it's on a 4-turn cooldown if you deal damage. So it's just like, so my big problem with this is just like the cooldown is way too long. Compare this to what else you can wear in that slot, which is basically King's Crown. That is the main thing you will be comparing this against. King's Crown is just so much more flexible than this helm. This helm is okay, but the cooldown is too long, and it's just very hard to take this over a King's Crown.
Yeah, I kind of agree. There's no real reason to use it over King's Crown unless you've got some meme set up where you can, like, turn 1 wipe everyone or something with Varna and, like, Rean and Arianrhod all at once or something.
Yeah, I mean, the span increase is nice if you are running into... Because obviously Varna is placed into AoE boxes. If you run into an opponent who is, like, just trying to spread out, this can help a little bit because, like, obviously this turns 1,000 arrows into a black hole size AoE, which is very nice. And it also turns Wind Whisper into a 2-ring AoE, which is actually quite large. But yeah, like, King's Crown is far more flexible. Like, even if you're rushing, like, King's Crown is probably better. So even though, like, the 4-turn cooldown, like, it's not as long as it looks like because Varna does use aim to cycle her cooldowns, but it's still way too long for its own good, in my opinion. Also, the other thing I really, really hate is that they put magic defense on this thing. Why did they put magic defense on this? Why? Like, I mean, think about, like, even if you don't use Varna in PvP, can you, Akato, where is the main place you use Varna when it's not, if you don't use her in PvP?
AB.
Yeah, but I think too.
Main thing is Fenrir, and Fenrir, the most dangerous attack from Fenrir is World Devourer, which is a physical attack. And yeah, like, why did you put magic defense on this? Why? Like, if it was defense for HP, that would have been so much better. And just in general, like, I don't think Varna, like the more threatening attacks in PvP, I think, are physical, generally speaking. For someone with large movement range, like Varna, at least. So,
I mean, she's already a flyer. Or don't flyers have higher magic defense anyway?
They typically have higher magic defense, so, like...
Yeah, so that's just like, should have helped her out our weakness.
Yeah, I mean, defense is just more useful in general, I think. I mean, because, like, generally speaking, the longest leg characters are physical units, and you want to survive against those if you can. And so this is, like, yeah, this helm is, it's okay, but it's a disappointment.
Dang.
Alright, so anyway, I believe it or not, we are actually done talking about a lot of this stuff. But I guess we didn't talk very much about how excited we are about Trails of Cold Steel coming to Wikigrisser, which I guess we should have talked about a little bit. Have any of you guys played Trails of Cold Steel?
I have not, but my friend bought me Trails of the Sky, and I'm playing it. Wherever the last one was Estelle. And I don't know it's the same world, so it's pretty cool.
The Trails of games all take place in the same world, yes.
Yeah.
Actually, as a matter of fact, like, Rean and, like, the country is from is sort of like, they're sort of like enemies with the country that Estelle is from.
Yeah.
So, like,
it's all happening at the same timeline, right? I mean, like,
In fact, like, Estelle actually shows up in, like, the Cold Steel games, I believe.
Oh, cool.
As like a cameo. Like, it's like a big story that's spanning across, like, the entire continent. Like,
yeah. And
they tell the story from, like, different countries and stuff. And of course, Rean and his posse are from the Empire from that universe, which is why Altina has the Empire faction, and which is why I was really expecting Rean to have Empire faction instead of Mythical. I don't think the Mythical faction really makes sense on him. I mean, he does have some special powers, but like he's a JRPG protagonist. Of course, he has special powers. I don't think they're like Mythical level powers. Arianrhod does have Mythical. Does qualify for Mythical because spoilers. But anyway, but yeah, like they put Rean in Mythical, I'm guessing to buff that faction. But yeah, Akato, have you played Trails of Cold Steel or any of the Trails of games yet?
No, I've been meaning to play first chapter of Trails Sky.
Yeah, I have Trails of Cold Steel on my Steam library, and it's probably going to remain there, and like 10 years later I'm going to find it, and I'm like, oh, I never played this game. That's the way it is with a lot of my Steam games. So, yeah, but aside from that, I don't think there's a lot to say. There's of course going to be a story event for Trails of Cold Steel, and that's where we're going to get Altina shards, and of course we're going to get the plushie Almeida and Juggler skins soon.
Yes.
And those are very exciting. And of course they're also going to add some skins for Heavy Infantry and Amazon Champion, I believe, which actually look really nice. Like, these are some really nice looking soldier skins. But aside from that, I don't have a lot to say. I'm not super familiar with Cold Stelia, as I said, because I haven't actually played it yet. But I'm actually kind of surprised they added Arianrhod and Altina as opposed to like the female lead from Cold Steel, who is a different character. But I guess Altina was more popular. Alright, well, before we finish things off here, Akato, do you have anything you want to say to our audience?
Not really, but thanks for having me.
Alright, thanks for coming on, Akato. Alright, well, I guess that's all we have for you today, and I hope you guys are looking forward to the Cold Steel collab, because I am looking forward to it in the sense that it will be cool to play through. I am not looking forward to it because I'll have to face Rean and Arianrhod in Apex Arena now. Yeah, that's all I got to say. If you guys don't have anything else to say, let us bid farewell to our audience.
Goodbye. See you next time.
See you guys next time.
Bye.